the four, how dancers see themselves and how callers see dancers. And we tend to look at dancers as, oh, they're old folks, they're kids, they're a family with kids and all this other kind of stuff. What I'm going to talk about is teaching square dancing to adults. And teaching adults does come with its own set of challenges, its own set of responsibilities. But what we have to look at with that is the fact that teaching adults is not the same as teaching children. Okay? The lessons and the outcomes may be exactly the same, but the modification and presentation are going to be altered to achieve the same result. I'm a believer, and I've found effectively that after children have reached about grade 6 or year 6, they're fully capable and they can respect teachers that treat them as adults for the purpose of teaching and learning, especially around square dancing. Now, similarly, although modification may be needed in a presentation, the same principle applies to disabled persons wanting to dance, very elderly seniors, and people that have English as a second language. What you modify is the process, but you don't change the fact that you are teaching to people. And if you respect them as adults, they will respect you with the expected adult behavior. That said, it's important to realize that each person, and for each person, the learning process may be different, and adults usually attend a class for a specific reason. And that specific reason is the difference between teaching to adults and teaching to children in a school environment. The reason is, outside of a school curriculum, all the dancers are there to learn because they choose to be there. And if you don't provide what they want to these adults, regardless of age, and that means a child, treat them like an adult, an old person, treat them like an adult, a disabled person, treat them like an adult, treat them like an adult. If you don't treat them as such and equally, they're there because they choose to be there. They can unchoose to be there much quicker than they chose. And I just want to put on, that includes the reluctant husbands that don't want to be there, or the cool teens, because the reality is they do want to be there or they wouldn't have come in the first place. Your job is to give them a reason to stay. So teaching adults can be very rewarding, especially because they all bring varied experience, and that experience and their background, that can fuel some very lively class debates. By helping them to improve and develop their new skills, you give them a desire to succeed and want more. They're there because they want to learn a new experience. They're not there to get an A on their report card to please their parents, or they're not there to get a tick mark so they can get the next job. They're there because they want to be, and they want to have fun doing what they're doing. Learning itself can be a very transformative stage in their lives or their career prospects in general. And learning can open up new communication networks and bridge gaps between unrelated professions. And that's very important in square dancing. Now, I'm going to be generalizing a fair bit about teaching adults in general, and then relating that to square dancing. But I qualify that by saying teaching adults is not easy, because adults arrive with very strong opinions about the way they want to learn. And perhaps they're scheduling their lessons around busy careers or childcare commitments with little time, very little spare time to fit in anything like homework, which some callers give. It's up to you as a caller to provide accommodation and facilitation, but not capitulation. And by that, capitulating means that's the act of ceasing or resisting an opponent or a demand. They've already capitulated to you by being there in the first place. So once again, you've got to make it worth their while to stay. So in dealing that, we're going to talk just very briefly about what's called andragogy, or this is the method and the practice of teaching adults in particular. Okay? The earlier a caller recognized that teaching an adult and expecting to think the same way that you think is the wrong approach, the better off you're going to be. Before teaching an adult class, what you've got to understand is there's 5 basic principles of successful adult learning. And for those, the adults learn best if it's self-directed, i.e. you let them do it, you guide and encourage them, but you don't do it for them. It's experiential, and it utilizes their background knowledge. They have to draw on what they know and build on that common ground. It has to be relevant to their current roles. In this case, square dancing is easy because they're all there to learn how to square dance. That is their current role. The instruction is problem-centered. In other words, it's a problem and a solution. Every move you teach is a problem, and every time they successfully do it, it's a solution. And if you take that approach, you'll be successful. And the students are motivated to learn. They are motivated because they chose to be there. You have to keep them motivated. So you got to keep those 5 things in mind so both you and your students will have a better success and a greater experience. Let's just quickly look at those. How do these principles apply to square dance? Well, in self-directed learning, one of the most important differences between teaching children and teaching adults is the self-concept of adult learners. Okay? Children are in school, they're forced to square dance. Regardless if they want to do it or not, it's a forced activity. It's dependent on their teachers to guide them through the learning process and to provide those opportunities for them to learn and how best to do it for themselves. Adult learners are exactly the opposite. Adult learners usually more mature, they're self-confident enough to make their own decisions, and they already know how they learn best. They know what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, and what they want to do and how they want it done. They don't require help, or they don't require much help getting additional resources or developing goals because they already have their own reasons. They chose back in school. They want to be there. They're coming back to school to learn because they've chosen that. Callers need to give their students space and support rather than overwatch and directed rote action. If you want to be the tap, 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 tap teacher and learn by what I say and repeat over and over and over again, you're going to fail. A big benefit to both callers and students is that students can design their learning around the individual preferred learning style. And those are talked about quite a bit, the visual, the auditory, the kinesthetic. I'll touch briefly on them, but I'm not going to go into great depths. But callers can integrate all 3 of those into a single presentation. And that, the earlier you learn that, the better off you're going to be. So if we look at visual learners are reliant on pictures, either alive or written down. Okay, they like to watch first, they like to try later. They benefit from the use of graphs, diagrams, illustrations, those little handouts with how they do this with the little flow charts and arrows. They love it. These are the ones that want the book first. They go through the book and they learn best when they're shown what the book means after they've looked at the pictures. Okay, they learn best by seeing somebody do it before they do it. About 55 to 65% of adults fit into that category of visual learners. The next is auditory learners. These are the ones that they're learning to draw the majority of their new knowledge through their ears, and they make the pictures in their own minds. So you've got to be able to explain that to them in a way that they can understand it. The things that make the most sense to them are when they have a start picture, they're told how it should be when it starts and how it goes through step by step so they can follow that sequence in their mind. So a caller talking to another caller would say, right, from a corner box, we've got this. An auditory learner would say, right, from a heads square through gets me a corner box. I've given, from a static square, they've built a picture. Heads square through, I've explained to it where they go. Now they're building that picture out of auditory knowledge. They're making that picture in the line. And if you do that, they can follow along a lot easier. Now, auditory learners can be a little slower to grasp complex patterns, but one of the things to remember is once they have it, they're rarely wrong. These are the ones that are rarely surprised by that gotcha move or that surprise or that dance by definition variation. They'll do exactly what you call, whether you want them to or not. And it's usually as low as 15, but normally around 30% of dancers are auditory learners. Now we hear a lot, I learn by doing. Learn by doing is the kinesthetic or the tactile learners. These are the ones that need to physically do something in order to understand it. You can tell them about it, you can show them pictures, they will not understand it until they actually move through it. These require a degree of trial and error. These learners, once they get it, they're the ones that are going to experience the most success in dancing. They can either be exceptionally quick or they can be exceptionally slow. There doesn't often seem to be a middle ground. It doesn't matter. It's their preferred learning style. That's the way they want to learn. It's important if you've got a kinesthetic learner that you recognize that. The biggest errors callers make that drive students away quickly is thinking that they have a different learning style because they're slower to grasp something. If you've got somebody that's very slow to grasp something, chances are it's a kinesthetic learner, and no matter how many times you explain it or write it down or draw on pictures, they're not going to get it. If you recognize it and try to use the visual auditory to help them, it just confuses them more. But if you take the time to assist with patience, kinesthetic dancers will stay with you for the long haul. They'll be the ones that keep coming back at every level all the time to dance and enjoy the sensation and the reward of dancing. And although most people say they learn best by doing rather than reading, seeing, and hearing, the reality is only about 5% of dancers are actually kinesthetic. The doing for the rest of them is an affirmation of what they've already achieved through their own learning styles. Okay, so this is where I say there's a teaching rule of 3. Reading, give them the material to read and see early. Those that want to read it will. Those that don't, won't. Those that need it will read it. Okay, if they don't want to read it and they want to learn differently, that's fine. Don't force them to, but give it to them early, because that will get a lot of the people right in off the bat. You'd be surprised how many of your dancers like to read ahead, try and figure it out, and then like to reaffirm that when it's taught on the floor. The second is show them. Show them with a demonstration. Explain the movement, explain the parts, put the parts together, show the complete movement again. The third is to do it. Once they're on the floor and you've done 1 and 2, break it down into its component parts, step by step, let them do the parts, then put the whole thing together. If you do this, you'll generally have success. Okay, follow this simple guideline if nothing else. That way you'll cover all the principles simultaneously, and you'll pick up about 90% of the floor on the first go. Everything after that is pretty much affirmation. Okay. The second part, using adult experiences as a resource. When you've got an adult class, they need to draw on their own background experience in a class in order to succeed. You've got to be able to recognize this, or you'll lose your student. You got to find a way to apply and allow them to draw on their own experiences, which if you do that successfully, they'll devour square dancing with a passion. Hey, oh, you're a mechanic. Oh, great. This is just like putting an engine together. You know, one part fits this, it doesn't. Ah, I'm relating it to mechanics. Great. I've drawn into it. Everyone has their own cache of experience. Find out about your dancers. Find out what their backgrounds are. Draw on it and build it using square dance to link those wide ranges of experiences together. And what you end up is you develop much more than a student. You develop a team and a club based on a foundation of commonality and shared experience. And the link to them is actually what you're teaching, square dancing. That's the link bridge. Okay. You hear this a lot of the time. Oh, we're going to teach a new movement because it's going to level the field. Square dancing is not a level playing field. Okay. Every single dancer you have there has an irregular store of experience and background knowledge. You've got to allow them to draw on it to help themselves and help others and help you to help them. Your adult students come from vastly different walks of life and experiences, and square dancing as a new topic is not a field leveler. It's a relationship binder, and the sooner you get that into an idea, the better off you're going to be. The networks and commonality in varied social relationships are more important to adults than in understanding the definition of spin, chain, through. Some students will be expert in that area, and your whole class can benefit from learning about or will have experience in something very unfamiliar to the rest of your students. One person might be a nuclear physicist, the other guy might be a storm drain cleaner. But they've got different experiences, and everybody can benefit from that. You're linking those experiences together through square dancing. And their experiences, through those experiences, they'll reveal themselves, and will be what they do will be remembered far more than the definition of a movement. For instance, Mike said in his presentation earlier, oh, that dancer remembered that he had on that black shirt 2 years ago because he had on the same black shirt. He's drawing from that. He doesn't remember that Mike taught spin, chain, through that night. He remembers that experience of the black shirt and that commonality between the relationship between them. That's what you have to find and try and build into your classes. Okay? The bonds of authenticity and spontaneity will come from shared life experiences with each other to prove some of the most powerful things that they will remember. Tap into that wealth and wisdom of your class as much as possible if you can. Square dancing should then become another commonality of shared experiences between your students. And this applies to all kinds of adult teaching, but it's just applying that adult teaching principle to square dancing. Relevance of material. Okay, many ask why that's on the list and material being, when the material being taught is simply square dancing. Well, it's relevant because that's why they're there. It's true, but the question of why needs to be answered individually. Adults want to learn about subjects that have immediate payoffs in their life, especially as it pertains to their social goals. And that's important. It's the social goals that are important. It's not the choreography. They orient themselves towards relationships, social status, in some cases career advancement, and a lot of other complex roles in their life. So they do exactly the same in square dance classes, and taking that away from them is wrong. Adults have no time and no use for irrelevant material, which is why callers need to allow students to feel that they play a part in the learning program. Just like in life, adults want to learn about career advancement, but some perhaps retirees or stay-at-home parents will not need this information. Likewise, some of your dancers may want to learn about different programs or even becoming a caller, while others just want to have a family to come to every Wednesday night in the form of a social activity. Your job as a caller is to get to know the students well enough to be able to teach them to their roles, the role that they want. Remember that your students are there to achieve something, and they probably have busy lives of their own, whether they're retired or not. Your teaching needs to fit the needs of the students, who are more often than not there because they identified an area of need for themselves, and they chose square dancing to fill that need. So ask and listen to them about what they want from the experience. Why are they there? You'd be surprised how many different reasons there are. Put this down: problem-centered instructions. Adult learners do not want to learn something that does not fit into their lives. That's, if square dancing doesn't fit into their lives, and they don't think it ever will, you're not going to be able to teach them regardless of how hard you try. Okay? They don't want to have abstract and theoretical possibilities when they're learning something. That may come later if you generate interest, but don't try and teach them abstracts and theory. Adults are already practiced, knowledgeable, and flexible learners because they've got a lifetime of experience of solving problems. They don't usually need to think long and hard about unfamiliar subjects before trying that skill out for themselves because they exercise problem solving every day in their lives. If you can't recognize that in your students, and especially your adult students, regardless of age, you're going to drive them away. It's very similar. Doing that is very similar to being talked down to or being treated like a baby. It's very demeaning and it's very off-putting. If they want help, adult students will generally ask you for help. So let them approach you. Give them what they need, but let them approach you. You need to approach their instruction as specific problems that they will face. You need to identify that they have a background tools already to succeed and to solve, rather than approaching their teaching one subject at a time. Paul and Ted Lizotte covered this when they were talking about teaching and building. Teaching adults specifically needs to be progressive and incorporative so that they build on what they know, and what they know are the tools that they use to solve the next problem, understanding and doing the next move. So you're going to teach a right pull by, you're going to teach a courtesy turn, then you're going to teach those two tools together to learn a right and left through. Andragogy, or adult teaching, is about spending more time doing than learning. And it's not the quality, or sorry, it's the quality of instruction that they want. It's not the quantity. You fail to realize that, you've lost. Okay, I missed a slide in there, but that's just what I talked about. The quality of your instruction is more important than the actual information, technicalities, the perfection of the definition. Good instruction means good learning. There's an old expression, it's an old Buddhist proverb that says, when a student is ready, a teacher appears. And no matter how hard A teacher tries, learning will only begin once a student is ready. For most adults, the first few nights will hold intimidation and a certain degree of apprehension. That's what you got to get past. Expect it, use it to your advantage. If you can, as a caller, you've got to find a way to interact, you've got to find a way to entertain, and you've got to find a way to get that initial uneasiness of the dancers gone. And that is a challenge. A big thing, it has absolutely nothing to do with the choreography you use. It has nothing to do with showing off, and it has nothing to do with showing what you can become by being a plus or an advanced dancer and doing a demonstration tip. If you've got a whole bunch of brand new students in there first time and they want to laugh and have a good time, and you say, right, this is what you can aspire to, we're going to do a plus tip. That little icon of the guy, there's your star dancers on the floor, and there's your new dancers knocked out because you've lost them. They don't want to look at that. Eventually they will, but they don't want to look at that on first night. Remember, new dancers are there because they choose to be, and it may be small or huge, but the motivation was there, and it was their choice, not your choice. Handled properly, you'll find that new dancers are eager to grow in their knowledge. They chose to be there, and they're already motivated to learn, or they wouldn't be there. If they don't come back, that was your choice. That wasn't their choice. If they don't come back, they chose to be there. If they don't come back, that's because you chose that role for them. Your role as a caller or a teacher is simply to encourage that motivation of them in the first place and help them to maintain positivity towards learning so they can move past any discomfort that they may feel about their own situations. Okay? Listen carefully for teaching moments and take advantage of them. When a student says or does something that cues in a brand new topic or a new discussion, even unrelated to the movement that you're teaching, be flexible and find a way to come back to that and discuss it, even briefly. So you're teaching a movement, and oh, that reminds me of when I was, trucking around in the jungles of Africa, and I was on safari, and he said, oh, well, that's really interesting. Let me get back to you on that. Make sure you do come back, because it shows the students that their interests are as important as yours. Don't let it distract you, but make sure that you incorporate that with yourself. Give them the time to be who they are. So within that, what I've got there is what they call the keys to success, if I can find it. There it is. Okay, so in order to be a successful caller, teaching goes well beyond the ability of just being able to resolve a square, call a patter, or doing a singing call. You've got to be able to keep that class relevant to your new students and not to you. It's all about them. It's always important to keep anything you talk about relevant to the students so that they will be more interested both individually and collectively to what you say. This isn't only about square dancing, but also about the social dynamics of the group and their relative background experiences. When they're ready to ask about you, they'll ask about you. Until then, make sure it's all about them. So one of the things that come with all teaching is a list of successful points. So we just correlated these, and there's about 20 of them that we're just going to go down very, very, very briefly, but they apply to pretty much anything. The first one is be passionate. Be interested in your topic. Your topic is teaching them to dance. If you seem like you don't care teaching pass-through, they won't care about learning pass-through. If you want to teach by rote learning doesn't work. Just teaching the lesson, like the speaker on Charlie Brown, that's not going to work. If you switch off when you're teaching because you've done it so many times, they're going to switch off because obviously you don't care about it. Why should they? Encourage questions and discussions. Okay? Adults do not like restrictive school classroom protocols, so ensure that they're comfortable. Make sure that they feel that they can ask questions. You may have to control the when and the where, but make sure that they feel comfortable asking. When teaching in class, it's a good idea to frequently put on your programming schedule. Now, does anybody have any questions? Write that down a few times. Make sure that that's there when you're teaching. If a student is unsure, they'll use that opportunity to raise their hand or ask the question. After a while, they'll become more comfortable coming up to you and asking. Keep them engaged. Keeping them engaged is of vital importance. It's the biggest caller failure to focus on just the successful square or the failing square and forget everybody else. You know, if you've got 10 squares on the floor and you've got a really, really good square and that's your focus square, you've knocked out 9 squares. And the same thing happens if you've got a bad square and you focus solely on the bad square, you've eliminated 9 squares off the floor that you're calling to. There's others that are participating, they need your attention too. So include everybody in the class equally. Ask various questions. Include those people that don't speak often. You know, simply listing off a load of information doesn't help it stick in their heads. Make them part of the activity. You've got to distribute your attention as with questions. It's all about inclusion. Make sure everybody gets a chance to speak and a chance to practice their new skills. Sometimes one student may be more talkative than others and doesn't give the rest of the class time to have their say. So it's important to come up with an activity where everybody can get involved and therefore allow everybody to participate. You know, you can do a little thing and make sure you go square by square by square by square to stop that one interrupted student. Smile. For God's sake, smile. It's a simple thing and it's too often forgotten when you put on the teacher's hat. Remember, it's supposed to be a fun social activity and shows a happy, pleasant face. You do that and you're definitely going to get the whole class more relaxed. If you're up there stern and sober and demanding as you know, the strong teacher, they're going to go, ooh, this is a class, I better pay attention. Well, I'm not really having fun. Try to recognize learning styles early. Everybody has a different way of learning and adults are no different. Visual learners tend to be the most common, so keep that in mind, but remember there's other learning styles present. Do some research on the specific styles before you start teaching and see where your students fit. Try and match them individually to a learning style because it's going to be a lot easier to incorporate the techniques into the classes when you deliver them. Be flexible. No matter how well you prepare and how many times you've done something successfully, every class has the potential to veer off in a new and different direction than you planned. It's important not to panic when that happens, and I say when that happens, not if that happens. As long as you can keep on topic in some form, the class is going to be a success. At the end of the class, it's also important to remember that regardless of where the class took you, if the students were having fun and they were dancing, they're going to come back. Correct mistakes. Too often, callers simply ignore mistakes because they're afraid of feeling like they're patronizing the dancers. Don't be. Correct them in a way that is not patronizing. Okay, there's hundreds of methods of doing this and you're going to have to find and explore the ones that work for each individual and work for you. These students are not sensitive, scared little baby birds. They are adults. Treat them like adults. Encourage mistakes as part of the learning process. You know, don't come down on them. A mistake is an opportunity, so treat it as such. Statements like, if you haven't made a mistake or two in life, you haven't really learned anything worthwhile. Those are important. They encourage and they facilitate the next necessary correction. I always bring up the thing, my hardest movement was square through. I had the hardest time learning square through. I have no idea why, but that was my hard movement. Everybody's going to have one. Topics of interest. Students feel like they're not succeeding. When a student feels that they're not succeeding, they usually try to deflect what's going on by speaking about their job or their cat or even their wife. They're the ones that paying you to provide a social venue with a collective activity. When this happens, recognize that it may be a deflection of a secondary issue. It doesn't mean that nothing can be learned from that class, but find them on the break and talk to them. Find out what's going on. Tell them that you're interested and you want to come back to that topic after the next tip. 9 times out of 10, they will anticipate that discussion. If you say, hey, that's interesting, I want to get back to you after that, and then you go back to them after the tip, they're going to anticipate that discussion. They're going to participate in the tip just so that they can talk to you afterwards because they're looking forward to that. If you can recognize that they're important, they'll recognize what you're doing is important as well. I put encourage, give encouragement. Every student needs encouragement. Believe it or not, adult learners need it more than young learners. The older they are, the more reluctant they may seem, and the more positive encouragement they need. Just make sure it's genuine, but not patronizing. There's nothing worse than false praise. It's challenging to a caller, but it's important that praise and encouragement is real and it's on board with the topic of discussion. I put this little note there. These are the keys to success. Keys open doors, and open doors are the starts of journeys. Now, those are the big ones, but here's the other ones. Dealing with tension. Tension is not that dancer that didn't have a shower or that dancer that has incredibly bad breath. Inevitably, you're going to have tension in your class. If you're going to deny it, it's a dangerous thing. If you're going to ignore it, it's a worse thing. The unusual mix of learning styles, speeds, and abilities around a single topic, in this case square dancing, will always cause a little bit of tension, as some of the dancers may not feel comfortable being at the same level as somebody else. Some people learn it faster, some people learn it slower, and some people take that to heart, some people get angry. It's important to steer conversation away from anything that may be related to the current tension and focus solely on the lesson when that happens. Then find an alternative to diffuse that tension. If you fail to do that, that tension is going to overwhelm your class, and that class is going to be written off, and you're probably going to lose a few dancers just because of personality conflicts. Now I put speak English with question marks. Now that's not do everything in English, because there's an expression, all square dancing is done in English. That is not true. Okay? The words of square dance are English words. Teaching is not. I know callers that speak Russian and Japanese and German and French, and they're all, they teach in those languages. It's important to remember that, especially with new adult dancers, that some may start a discussion in their native language. That can seem detrimental, and quite often simply they're asking for clarification of the instruction you gave with each other. They may have not understood it, so they're putting it in their own language. If you think, oh, they're talking about me or they're talking down, don't. Let them be. If it happens, inquire as to what they're talking about and become part of that conversation. That'll help them learn the new vocabularies, and both the caller and the student and the other dancers will not feel excluded. Incorporate into that even if you don't speak the language, because they're there to learn. You're working through a translator. Talk to them directly and let the other person translate what you're saying. You'll find it works a lot better, and they'll feel better about it. Eliciting words. Eliciting, that's the idea of drawing out from the students what they're up to. Having the students think or come up with their own words rather than simply telling them what to say or telling them the words is very important. In doing this, students find that they will already know the vocabulary. They just need to let it out, so to speak. Assist them if you need to, but listen close. How they explain something to you tells a lot about how much they understand what you're teaching. For instance, I think anybody that's called a student class has said, that movement that you taught, the one where you make that right hand turn and then the middle bit goes around in a circle, and the other ones, they sort of move up around the outside. That's their words. You've got to draw back. Okay, yeah, oh yeah, I taught spin the top 2 weeks ago. Okay, half, centers 3, ends move. Okay, now I know what they're relating to. You can elicit their words, and that will explain to you how they're understanding what you're teaching, but it also explains to you the words you use that you're teaching with may need to be adjusted a little bit. Have fun. Square dancing is first and foremost a social and interactive and fun activity. Teaching does not have to be boring, and it should not be boring. Make the class fun, and your students will engage with the activity much, much more. Think of ways to involve everybody in teaching. Things like the Sicilian circle at the start of a dance is great for this. It loosens up the atmosphere, it gets the blood flowing, it gets everybody interacting, and it also brings all those more shy students into the fore, mixing with the class, rather than just standing off the side and waiting for a hole in case they're needed, they'll fill in, otherwise we'll just sit quietly in the corner. It gets everybody up. This is one that becomes controversial. I say integrate emotion into class. I don't mean get them all to cry on your shoulder. I mean, you've got to emote. You've got to draw on those feelings. Successfully teaching adults means remembering that these learners often identify more with the content that is emotionally driven than words on a piece of paper. Relate your activities to relevance for individuals. So if you're, relate a singing call so they emote a receipt of positive encouragement and edification of success. You teach a movement, you've got to use that movement in your singing call, but also take the music and everything to elicit the emotion, to cement that choreography with an emotive response that makes them feel good and makes them feel successful. That motivates them to want to do more, and it also gives them that they want to feel that emotive flush of success. And if you can link that emotion to success, they're going to come back. if you can draw on their real life experiences and your real life experiences through stories and that you tell on and off the mic, it'll be real to them. And when the content has that slightly emotional content, especially with adult students, they pay much, much more attention in class. Encourage your students to explore. Although adults enjoy being taught properly, adult learners prefer a short lesson, and then they want to explore the topic on their own with only weaning guidance. That format's often called didactic teaching, or didactic teaching, I guess is a way. Okay, in that kind of teaching, activities are designed to give the students a chance to learn on their own. You teach them, but you let them use it, and it's only that little prompt when they need that little clue, and then you wean them off it. The central theme of a lesson is a question. In other words, the question is the movement or the problem that needs to be solved or answered. Square dancing is ideally structured for this because it allows a short teach and lets the student integrate their own personal experience as a group into what they're learning and being successful with it. That is paramount to their learning success. Let them do it. Don't dance it for them by telling them exactly what to do on the mic unless you need to give a little short prompt. Variety is a group project. Okay, the inclusion of variety means that the group project, or the square, is inspired to collaborate and explore individually for team success. Callers do this by incorporating the known, using it, but in different and successful ways, integrating the new stuff and build and join with known successes. You build on your programs. As a caller, you need to give them success. Offer choreography that inspires true interaction and collaboration and exploration through variety. If your students can arrive at success themselves, it'll resonate more and they will want more. They will feel that they want more. Some callers give homework. Some say, I want you to read these lessons. This is a lesson. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that. However, you've got to make the assignments convenient. Adults and adult learners are much more busy than traditional students. They have lives, they have jobs, they have families, countless other commitments to manage. That means that assignments should be convenient for them to complete and done on the spot. You can offer additional material, but don't give them homework assignments. Let them choose and ask for homework. Give them the material. If they want to read ahead, they'll read ahead. Never assign it. When you offer more opportunities for the students to finish assignments on the spot, hey, we're going to learn this material, then we're going to do this material. They're more likely to do it, and then they're more likely to ask in order to be prepared for next week. So they look better, they feel better, they succeeded better. Feedback. Feedback is too often overlooked, or it's too focused on the negative. If a new dancer makes an error, offering immediate feedback can make the lesson much more effective. When they grasp a concept, when they can't grasp a concept, I should say, offer an alternative approach or an explanation. This gives students the chance to make mistakes, but learn from them quickly. If you wait too long to give feedback and it's never advised, especially when teaching adults, what happens is you've missed opportunities. Don't. Get the feedback there, get the feedback from the group, but also give feedback. And the last one, it's about them. It's not about you. If you're teaching or calling for your own gratification, quit now. You'll never be able to be any better than you are at this moment, but you will become a lot worse. Square dancing is not about choreography. It's not about singing. It's not about patter calls. It's not about dancing. They are the means of participation, of having a social interaction, of networking, of companionship, of relationship building, of fun and enjoyment. Choreography, singing, and dancing are only the tools that the caller uses to achieve that. How they're used is the means by which the students have success. Okay. The practical application of square dance teaching, essentially, the teacher is the compass that activates student magnets of curiosity, knowledge, and wisdom. And when the students learn with pleasure, they'll never forget it. William Arthur Ward made this expression, it's a very common one and very well-known one. A mediocre teacher tells them. There's the definition. Here it is. A good teacher explains how it works. A superior teacher will demonstrate, will tell them, explain it, demonstrate it. But the great teacher will inspire them. He'll give them all that, give them the how, the where, the what, and then apply a desire within them to want more. That's what every caller should be striving at, is to be the great teacher as well. For a caller, the most challenging, but almost the most rewarding aspect of the job is teaching new people to dance and having them come back. It's one of the few jobs where, especially teaching jobs, where graduate students, if taught successfully, never want to quit school. Teaching goes with the job of being a caller, because callers teach new dancer classes. Callers are always answering questions. They're always in teaching mode. They'll continue to teach when workshopping a movement or a session or a big dance. It's always there. That teaching hat never comes off, most of the time, not even in a social setting after the fact. So there's a lot of qualities, but they boil down to, you must be an effective communicator. You must understand the audience demographics. You got to know that target audience and build the bridges to effectively communicate between the people, not only between you and the dancers, but between the dancers themselves. You've got to be able to make it fun. It's a social activity and a fun activity first. And you've got to have these teaching habits that are ongoing and essential to keep it active. Patience, you've got to have patience. If you can't handle it, fake it or quit. It's that simple. You've got to develop your hard skills and your soft skills. You've got to learn to communicate in different ways. You've got to have good presentation skills and be current on your knowledge and the definitions. You've got to be flexible. You've got to be prepared to teach, but you've also got to be prepared to adjust when you're there. And you must have, and this is a must, conforming loyalty and passion to the activity. If you don't, they won't. So we're going to just quickly touch on these. Okay. One, you got to keep it fun. It's important to approach each class, workshop, teaching session as if it was a one night, a one time, a standalone dance, something to recruit new dancers. Use singing calls every tip. It's a great way to practice what you taught and let the dancers recap that emotive reward of success that will bring them back. Use interactive methods like the Sicilian circle or lines or anything that can get them interactive to teach. I put this down here and I stress it. This is my opinion. Never do an I am better than you reward tip. And that is your angel tips or your star tips. Angels and other dancers, they're there because of the students. They're not there to show off how good they are. They're there to bring the students up to dance and give them a good time. Teaching is about new dancers, and the reason they're there is the only thing that can keep you there. Make them want you. You need to be very, very, very patient. Most dancers today are old. I said it. It's not politically correct, but it's a fact. Most dancers today are 60 years old or more. They have a lot of information to compete with in their brains, and unless you make it worthwhile, it's not going to be grasped quickly, and it won't be retained for long, especially if it's not used frequently. Different people learn at different rates. Last year's class of geniuses may be overshadowed by this year's class of, I have no idea what you're talking about. Give them what they need because it's about them. If it takes 3 months to teach them, take 3 months. If it takes an entire year, take a year. But if you're frustrated and you can't control yourself, quit. This is a fun recreation for the dancer and for you as a caller, as a professional. It's not a job for them. For them, it's a social hobby, and they can walk away from it anytime. So if you want to call that all that neat choreography, but they can't dance it, tough. You've taught this movement over and over and they still don't get it, tough. Dancers won't shut up when you're trying to teach, tough. Angels are trying to teach over you, tough. All your hard work went in because of, I don't know, the power went out, tough. If you're not ready to deal with all that kind of stuff each and every time you pick up the microphone, this activity is not for you. I'm not saying let it happen. I'm saying be prepared to deal with it. Keep your skills current. Attend workshops, things like this. Go to caller school, read publications, read note services. Refresh yourselves monthly on the definitions because they do change. Have a look at the date and see if it's more current than the one you've got. Take every opportunity to improve your hard skills and your soft skills. The rewards are tangible and worthwhile for both you and your dancers. The consequences of not doing it, though, That'll get run up the flagpole for everybody to see. And believe me, gaining trust is one thing. It's easy to gain trust. Losing it, if you lose your trust with the dancers, you'll almost never, ever get it back. Okay? You've got to be able to communicate with your dancers. Okay? Reciting definitions is not communication. That's just talking. Effective communication needs to be sent and it needs to be received both ways. Just as a caller's got to be able to control a situation, the dancers must be able to communicate receipt of what that caller is trying to send to them, that it's not over. The student's got to be able to communicate that message back that they've received it. They do that by their dancing. Otherwise, it's just not communication. Part of being an effective caller is to be able to review that communication, make sure that they can repeat the message through use, and the initial message that you give them is only about 25% of that. Hearing and retaining and using it is the rest of it. And that's where it's a two-way street. You've got to talk as much as you listen. They've got to be able to do, their doing is how they talk back to you. Okay. Your presentation skills, I boil this down into two parts. One's hard skills, one's soft skills. Knowing the definition, being able to recite, that's a hard skill. Okay, but don't become a lecturer. They're there to dance and have fun. Use your music effectively when you're teaching. Keep it low and keep it neutral, but keep it in there. Okay, upbeat background pattern music usually keeps the dancers focused. So you want an upbeat piece of patter, but you want it low in the background when you're teaching. Use visual aids and demonstrations. Put a $5 bill on the floor in a square through and tell them they can keep it if they go around without doing a courtesy turn. I'll guarantee you they'll get a square through very quickly. You'll be out a lot of money, but you know, that visual aid does work. It says right in the definitions. Definitions are worded technically for callers. That's important because it also says in the definition, even the definitions say, find your own words to teach with, and it could be different every class. Don't be afraid to put the microphone down and get off the stage and walk into the floor. It really grabs the attention. If you've got a remote mic, use it. Switch it on when you go off the stage, turn it off when you get back on the stage again. But don't use it until you need it. Don't make it part of everything. Make it special. That will really resonate with the dancers. And of course, again, use different interactive techniques like the Sicilian circle and everything else to get all the dancers mixing together. Those are essentially your hard skills. Soft skills are about feelings and emotions. Believe it or not, soft skills are oftentimes more important than hard skills. You've got problems at home, don't bring them. Okay? Your problems don't belong in the hall. I can guarantee your dancers' problems will come to the hall, and you're going to have to find a way to deal with them, even though you tell them. They won't leave their problems at home, so you don't need yours to add them. Don't waste their time. Long instruction means little dancing. They're there to dance. You got to know your stuff. If you don't know it, or if you can't do it, they won't know it when you're done. You've got to know when to quit. How many of you have ever been in one of those squares where you're calling and the caller just, can't resolve that square and just keeps heads wheel around to the right? Oh, no, that's not right. Oh, touch. No, that's not right. If you can't resolve, don't. Quit. Not quit calling, but quit that sequence. You can't resolve. Oh, restart it with a smile. Oh, I can't get that one. Square them up. Or swing somebody near you and hope for the best. Get them home. Let's try that again. Heads up, and so on. Teach for them, not for you. By that I say, if you can't do a song without spin the top. So let's say you're doing the SSD program and you've got a song that's got spin the top in it. Oh, I can't do that song without spin the top. So you teach them spin the top. You're calling for you. You're not calling for them. If you can't call without using movements that they don't know or you haven't taught, don't teach them for your comfort. Teach them for their comfort. They've got to be able to build on what they know so they can learn and develop. It's not about you to be comfortable at their expense. Don't be a show-off. It's not welcome. They don't like it. Floor teaching should never be more than 15 minutes. That's for the whole tip, ever. I say that's a rule, 15-minute rule. It's more of a guideline, but it's a damn good idea. If things fail, it's never the dancer's fault. It's always your fault. Accept it. Take that on the chin, accept it. Whatever happens on that floor is your fault, not theirs. Save individual help for between tips. Don't isolate one dancer and help them in the middle of a teach and all of that. You've got to be able to isolate. If somebody has a problem, you get them through it, but then you come and you offer individual help. You got to think like a beginner. Watch for overload and know when to pull back, kind of like this session. There's a lot of material here and it can get overloaded. So that's why the material will be given to you afterwards to go through it at your own pace as well. Be a teacher. You're in control, so keep their attention. You've got to have self-control, because if you don't, quit. If you can't control your own self, you can't control them. Do not ever embarrass or isolate individuals. Be sincere with your praise. Never scold your dancers. That's important. You've got to learn to laugh at yourself and with them, but never at them. Remember, calling and teaching is about the dancers. It's not about the club coffers. It's not about how much profit you make or any of that other kind of stuff. It's not about getting dancers to fill in the plus club. It's about the new dancers. Remember that. Be what you want them to be. In other words, lead by example. Teach properly. Don't take shortcuts. Okay? If you have to unteach something and then reteach it later, then you did it wrong in the first place. Incorporate etiquette, manners, history, philosophy, styling, fun. Incorporate that into your teaching. It's not just the definitions, because the definition is getting from A to B. That's not a trip. That's just move from here, stand there, you're done. That's not dancing. And ensure that your angels know that they are tools. Your angels are not teachers. So within that, I know everybody has faced this. There will always be that one dancer. Okay? There's always that one student that doesn't get it in a student class. Don't be afraid to fail a dancer if you have to. Sometimes you have to, cut off the finger to save the hand, so to speak. However, be prepared to do everything you can, give that extra effort that is needed to try and bring that dancer. Those dancers that just don't get it, more often than not, become the heart of the activity because you took the time rather than let them drift away. So do everything you can, but if you have to, sometimes you just have to say to that one dancer, I'm sorry, I don't think this activity is for you. Okay. There's so many qualities of a good teacher, but it boils down to you've got to know your stuff. You've got to be able to prepare to explain your stuff. You're going to be challenged on your knowledge and saying, well, because I said so. That's just not going to work. They look at you as the expert. They trust you. If you break that trust, you're never going to get it back. So you've got to stay current. A good idea, and a lot of callers have said this in the other presentations, they keep a copy of their definitions handy so they can refer to them. One of the things, don't ever try to second guess or hyperextend definitions to be clever, especially in a student class. There is a written authority, and that is the Color Lab definitions, the Color Lab guidelines, the choreographic guidelines. Those are the written authority. If you're not sure, pick them up and read them. Don't try and make your own interpretation because you think it's clever, especially with a student class. Teaching orders will vary, but make sure you know who uses what in your area before you send your dancers out. There's nothing more frustrating to a new dancer than going somewhere and saying, oh, we're mainstream. Oh, but we don't do this, we don't do that, we don't do this. And they get frustrated. Don't lie to them. You've got to be prepared and you've got to be flexible. Okay, make sure your angels are prepared. Don't forget, that says font forget, but it should say don't forget all the background administration. Preparation means getting the hall ready, getting all that stuff, making sure you got coffee, all those other kinds of things, unless you're lucky enough to have an organization that does all that for you. You got to remember that learning speeds vary. You're going to face absenteeism, and you're always going to face that one. You're going to prepare 100 things to go wrong, and there'll be the 101st thing that will go wrong. Okay. I put conforming loyalty to the activity. Color Lab has a code of ethics. Read it and use it because you represent more than just yourself. You represent the activity. You've got to be involved in the activity as a whole, not just the club. If you want to change how the activity goes, change it from the inside, not from bitching from the outside. You got to work with local callers and teachers on local standards. I put this down here. Everything is politics these days. Every club, every association is politics. Politics do not belong on the dance floor in a dancer class. So if you got politics in your club, keep them off the floor. If you're the caller, make sure the politics stay off the floor. Okay? You're there to teach, not preach. I've covered that. Learn your dancers' names. Okay, don't promote activities they can't attend. And this week, oh, welcome new dancers. Next week, we're having a big plus dance. Come and watch. I know you can't dance, but come and watch. No, don't do that. If they can't dance it, don't encourage them to attend it. You know, it just, all it does is say, we're better than you. Let them know what to expect. Give them an agenda of what the classes are. Reinforce the positive and the success. Know when to quit. Maximum floor time. I can't stress these things enough. If you're passionate about your activity, it's going to show with the dancers, okay? True passion is power. Your passion will feed that floor when it gets dry. Their passion about dancing will feed you, and it just progressively gets better and better and better. But sometimes it's all going to go wrong, and the only thing that's going to come out of you is your passion for the activity is what's going to keep that floor together, and you're going to go home completely drained, but the advantage is they're going to want to keep coming back. Be prepared to be completely drained after a dance. Finally, and these opinions, like the rest of this, are my opinions. If what you do works for your dancers, it's not wrong. It may not be what I do, it may not be what another caller does, but if it works for you and it works for your dancers, it's right for you. Okay? These are my opinions. I've been doing this for about 40 years, and it works. When you're looking at things like introductions, introductions suck the life out of a student class. Okay? If you're going to have a long introduction, the dancers are going to be standing there going to, why are we doing this? And they're bored. Repeated formalized square ups. Okay, this is going to be a couple square up. This is going to be a partner choice. Okay, and we're going to have a grand march. And we're going to do this every single tip on a student class. They don't belong in student classes. That's not what they're there for. If you want to start with one, make one. That's it. Long jokes and anecdotes do not work. Okay, little short quip, maybe. A long joke, they're not there to listen to your jokes and humor. They're there to learn how to dance. Make the dancing fun. Another thing that doesn't work in student classes, redesigning the squares and shuffling dance. Okay, square, John, you and Betty separate because you're not good enough. We're going to put you there. Yeah, we want you to decide. Or separating a couple and putting them, I'm going to move you over into the side position, dear. And now what you've done is you've got them dancing together the whole time. As soon as you call head square through, they're back together again. Leave them as they were. They got up on the floor that way. You can separate them in different ways. And finally, never end an evening with club announcements, okay? Do that before the last tip. Follow them and have a good pickup to pick that up, because club announcements drain a floor. Everybody's bored listening to announcements. Even it doesn't matter how interesting they are, how good the thank yous are. Finish the evening with a pickup tip that's going to build confidence and leave a good memory. Well, look at that. Right on time. I'm impressed. That's it. Are there any questions? Is anybody still awake out there?
I just want to ask you a couple of things, Mel.
Sure, Rick.
The 5% of learners that you have to spend more time with, basically, that often can cost you some of those other groups. You gotta really be careful about that. What I do is I take people aside. I always, I explain to them at the first class, if I ever come up and say, dance with me, because you're going to help me teach somebody else. And if somebody's having trouble with whatever it is, you work with them and maybe another couple until they've got it.
Absolutely.
That's, I don't know, that's not really a question, but you said never give up. You had said basically, or you had implied never give up on anybody. And later in the presentation,
what I said was try, be prepared to fail somebody, or be prepared to tell somebody that you don't think this activity may be for them. But before you do that, make sure you've done everything you can do, because maybe they might have a different learning style that you might have not approached. They might be one of that 5% of kinesthetic learners that need to actually be walked through it off the floor. do everything you can to save that dancer. But if you can't save that dancer or that couple, don't be hesitant to say, you know, this activity may not be for you, and sacrifice 10 squares for one couple. You don't want to do that.
Yeah, my question is, sometimes during the doing everything you can for that 5%, it's during that process when you lose the other 95% or a portion of the other 95%.
Yeah. And that's why you don't do it on the floor.
And then the other thing you had, you'd mentioned angels in two places. The week before a class starts, what I do is I have a discussion with the angels and let them know my expectations. And I will call an angel out on the floor, you know. I warn them. I say, you know, if you're out there talking and trying to teach them something, I will tell you to shut up over the microphone. And,
oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
One of the biggest thing, I can't remember if it was either Ted or Mike said, if you're going to be teaching and you have angels, make sure your angels are prepared, that they know. One of the things that happened with a caller, it started off in Germany, but there was another caller, I'm trying to remember who it was. But he said he'll arrange you with his angel sometimes. You'll have those one or two dancers. He may point out something to an angel. Let's say Helen is my angel. Helen and Mike are my angels. And Rick Hampton is having problems with a movement. I may say, Mike, no, your left hand, Mike, you've got to always turn in. Now, I've told Mike that I'm going to say that to him if I'm having a dancer. That way I don't have to isolate Rick. But it can come out. I try never to do that or use that, but sometimes you may have to do, oh, other way, Mike, well done. And Rick Hampton's going to say, ooh, I almost turned the wrong way too. Good thing you didn't see me. But it'll gel in his head that way. There's all sorts of little techniques like that, but you're absolutely correct. You should always prepare your angels, and you should let your angels know that you are the teacher, they're not the teacher. If there's a question with a student and they ask one of the angels in the square, for the angel to raise his hand, we have a question here, and let you explain it.
I always answer angel choir, tell the angels to answer questions like that. I don't know, let's go ask Rick.
Yeah.
There's a question, is there a written document that explains the role of an angel?
There probably are. There should be some stuff on angels and using angels in the Color Lab knowledge database. There is a lot of written material about angels. There's been a few in about angels and some of the troubles with angels that have been published in Behind the Mic. But as far as a guidebook or a textbook for angels, there's nothing that I know that is specific. Perhaps there should be. You know, I think we have one of the champions of teaching in Color Lab sitting down there in the bottom left hand of my screen, which is Betsy, who does a lot of teaching and probably has forgotten more about teaching dancers than I will ever know. So Betsy, do you know if there's anything on, like any specific guidebook for angels?
I do not know of any specific guidebook. I have seen papers for handouts about, you know, okay, angels, here's what we want you to do, but most of those are done by individual callers. So yeah. You might, I think you were right in referring to the database. That would be where I would try to look first myself.
I think the late Tim Mariner had a good paper on that in his archive on Color Lab.
And there is in the database Tim Mariner's notes.
Yep.
Mel, in the BTM last year,
yes.
I think it was about April or May, there was a really good article on it that I actually printed off and I'm handing out to my angels.
Yeah.
So I think it was around April, May last year.
Yeah. I remember we did a couple of articles in there on angels, and there was a couple of discussions on angels, one from dancers and one from other callers that had that in Behind the Mic. But your memory is better than mine as to actually when. I would have to go back and look it up.
I only looked at it again about 2 weeks ago. So that's why I know it's around about April, something like that, 19.
What do you got on your head, Barry?
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Can I ask a question? We have angels, of course, and there's two different types of angels. And as I'm a very new instructor, my status isn't very high. I have a difficult time sort of convincing the old dancers that have danced for 30 years. I've only been calling for a couple of years, that I'm the actual teacher. But there are two schools. Some of them think that they should wait for the student to put out the left hand to do the allemand left. Whereas I think the important thing for an angel is to be in the right position and sort of offering the right hand, or sort of showing what's expected, because that will make them succeed and that will make them do the allemand left. Otherwise they'll be hesitant. And so this means that sometimes they're dancing with someone who's there with their left hand. Sometimes they turn around and the person just stands there. And then they, of course, they immediately think, I'm doing it wrong. Why? What role do you think that an angel should play?
Well, from my personal point of view, if I'm going to have angels, I like to have a full square of angels. Not to demonstrate, not to do anything, but because ideally you may need 7 other dancers if you have 1 extra dancer. That way you've got full squares. If you've got only 1 of them and 7 angels have to sit out, then 7 angels have to sit out. I believe that if you're going to teach a movement and you're saying everybody, okay, ladies, I want you to turn slightly to your right. Men, I want you to turn slightly to the left. Shake left hand, slide your left hand up to the elbow. You're going to do a left hand turn, go all the way around, let go of hands, step past each other, come back to your partner. That's an allemand left. Everybody's going to do this at the same time. Everybody allemand left. Well, that's another dancer on the floor. The angel is fitting in to be another student on the floor, but they're there to fill in, they're there to assist, or if it's necessary to demonstrate a movement, you can call your angels up to demonstrate a movement while you're teaching it to show the component parts. But for an angel to stand there and say, I'm a broomstick, I'm waiting for you to stick out your left and I'm going to react, all that person is saying, I'm an experienced dancer, look at me, I don't have to do anything until you do. And that's wrong. An angel is a dancer. An angel on the floor is just another new student dancer that's filling in that blank, and they should be treated and dance exactly like every other student dancer is dancing. They're there to assist you. They're not there to prompt the dancers into doing the right thing, which they will do automatically, but they're not there to say, I'm not going to react until you do it right, because you're just going to frustrate the dancers.
I'm going to add just a little. I think an angel should be there to be in the right place at the right time with the right hand out and a smile.
Yep.
Yeah. A lot of times the people break down because of the hesitation. And so if you have the angels ready, presenting the correct hand, that will take the hesitation away from the student and increase their success, which will increase their enjoyment, and their learning ability will increase also.
Yeah, and I think what you said, Betsy, be there at the right time with the right hand. It's the same as you as a caller. The essence is, John, you got your music going. The essence is to ensure that they lead.
You can turn down the music for me.
You know, if you're going to lead by example, you have to lead by example, and that means doing the right thing at the right time, because you want them to do the right thing at the right time as well. Excellent comment. Who's speaking?
Roz.
Yes, Roz.
As I've been an angel a number of times, more so than what I've done in calling, but I've found one of the good things is eye contact. If you know someone's going to come towards you, you make sure you get contact with them, and if they're a bit unsure, they see the eye contact and they know that that's the person they're going to meet. Did you get that? Yeah.
One of the things that I do and say a lot, it's like, hey, keep your heads up and smile. It is a social activity.
Hey, Mel, last time we had lessons last fall.
One second. Am I still on share screen, or is my computer frozen here?
Your computer.
You're not on share screen.
Okay, hang on just a second.
I'm hanging. I'm hanging.
No, you're not on share.
there we go. Okay.
We see you full.
Sorry.
full
That
picture.
was, who was speaking? Was that John?
Yeah. So
Okay,
last fall we had lessons at our club, and we had an angel there. I was the angel in the square, one of the angels. And we had a square dancer that was having a tough time from everything past element and left.
Mhm.
And I was trying to. We were doing something, and I had my hand up in the right spot, and I had his hand, and he did not want to go in the direction that I was trying to show him how to go. And it was all downhill from there. So I never danced with him again. But not all angels or not all students are willing to take any direction.
And not all angels are really have any business being out on the floor.
That's true too.
Well, that's true.
I said it. What can I say? I said it.
That's one of those 100 things that you have to prepare for. That's going to cause insane frustration. Now, Roz, you started asking something, but I don't know if I missed it. I just got, this is Roz, and then my computer froze up. So I don't know if you got an answer to your question or not.
No, I'm okay.
You okay? Mark, you can stop recording if you want, or you can keep recording if you